Okay, folks, I think we are ready to call this meeting to order. No, we're not. We're missing people. We need Lynn and Dan. Where's Mr. Dan?
Until I get a pen. Gotta have my other pen.
Stand outside. He's getting warm. We should all be out there getting warm with him. My hands are like ice. Icy, icy. Oh, there he is. Here, I thought you were outside getting warm, Dan. We're all going to take up smoking here soon. Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. Now I would ask everyone to please stand and remove your hats.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, a true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Lord, keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Much better. Okay. Our first motion is moved by Cindy Kelsey, seconded by Lynn Clegus, that the agenda for the regular meeting of council to be held July 8th, 2025 be approved as, are there amendments, Kathy?
Yes, there are, Madam Mayor. There are three other items under closed session number 19. So now, in fact, we have two in regards to personnel matters. One is litigation or potential litigation, and the other is the proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land. Also, two, there was moving item 12, I think it's 12B.
D.
And 13, I think it's 13D, was it not? Or 13A. Okay, we're moving them to have them together. Okay.
Okay, excellent. Okay, any questions or comments on that? All those in favor? Carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in general nature thereof of any item on tonight's agenda by any member of council? Seeing none, we'll note that in the minutes. Moved by Lynn, seconded by Bill, that the minutes from the regular meeting of council held June 24th be approved as presented. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Mayor's remarks. I just have a few remarks. Canada Day was an excellent day. The weather cooperated. Our firemen, I asked the question of the numbers, and it was a little over 500 people came for breakfast. So it was fantastic. There was always a lineup, but they got people through very fast, and they're all to be congratulated for their flipping and sausage cooking and juice making. And just, it was great, great morning, and everybody had a good visit. Dr. Bell's retirement. There was a couple parties for him, and after 54 years, he's home, hopefully with his feet up, relaxing. So thanks for all of the many, many years he's given to our community. And office relocation, July the 14th, the move is happening.
Yes.
The office will still be open.
Yes, it will be. It will be open, and then we'll accept actually everyone on the 15th of IT from the county, also North Frontenac Telephone Company. They will be there all day on the Monday with us, making sure we're connecting. Sarah's already been over because she's going to be away for a few days, so they've got hers. internet where things are working. So yes, there will be staff at the office to accommodate any of the people coming in, and then from there, but everything's moving ahead quite quickly.
Good. Okay. The other thing is on the 26th, the Country Music Association Beach Bash is happening. Tickets are available in a lot of different places. So if you can get to that, be good music night. And the farmers market had their vendors under the roof at the rink on Sunday. And I was amazed at the number of cars that were there. So that rink is the first Sunday of the month, I believe, is vendors market, and it's being well used. And I think lots of people were there with their tables and their wares. I think that's it for me. Does anyone else have anything to add? Lynn and then Cindy?
I just wanted to send a big thank you out to Nicole Shorts, our bylaw officer. She came this morning to the Kennebec area seniors meeting and did a great presentation on what her role in this township is, and it was very well received. Thank you.
Excellent. Cindy?
I just wanted to send condolences out to the Clark family. So Nadine and her family, Howard passed away this week, and he was a road supervisor for quite a few years, just pre-amalgamation. So they're in our thoughts and prayers.
Yes. Thank you. Susan?
One correction about, there's the vendors market and there's the Sharbot Lake Farmers Market. So the Sharbot Lake Farmers Market was on the Saturday, and it was a great opening, very well attended despite
The rain.
the rain.
Yes. Philip?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to mention Canada Day seemed to be a huge success down at the beach. But I also wanted to acknowledge Central Frontenac Recreation Committee established an annual award in Wanda Harrison's memory for recreation volunteers. This year was the inaugural year, and there was 4 recipients. So Gord Brown from District 1, Barry Gray from District 2, Joan Hollywood from District 3, and Christine Teal from District 4. So
Excellent.
I just wanted to publicly acknowledge them.
Yes, that was very nice presentation. Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll move on then. So next we have delegations. And our first delegation is Steve McCullough, who's going to talk about additional severances. Come on up, Steve. Push that button in the middle till the green light comes on. Just push down there. Okay, you're all set.
Hi, my name's Steve McCullough. I'm from Parham. And the reason I'm here tonight is because my grandson, he came to me and said, Papa, he said, I would like to buy a lot off your property to build a house. And that's next to his mom and dad. They just had a baby boy. And I said, yes, you can have a lot, because I said, the reset was 2008, and then my last house was 2006. So I said, I'm allowed one more. But when I came to check on the severance at the township, they said, no more. We're cutting it back to 2. You got your 2, and you can't have no more. So, and I was also told that there hasn't been much call for severances. So I got thinking, that seems strange. So I drew up a petition. I wanted to just go out and get the feelers, see if how many people was interested in severances or thought it was a good idea to have. So because times are tough, we want to help our kids out, and this is one way of helping them out because they can't afford to go buy houses. And if a parent can help them, or my grandfather help, I'm all for it. So I wrote up a petition, and I said we would like the Township of Central Frontenac to update the official plan zoning bylaw to increase the number of severances allowed from 2 to 3. This would allow the possibility of more homes being built and the increase to the tax revenue. This is all about building communities and developing our township further. So that's, so I'm just hoping that we can get it back to 3. I phoned up at the North Frontenac. They have 3. South Frontenac has 3 severances. And I think North Frontenac, I think they have a plus of 1. But anyway, I just like to have that brought back the way it was.
We do have it on our radar, and there is a motion coming up later that Councillor Meeks has presented a notice of motion, and we'll be discussing that a little further along. So it's exactly what you're asking for. Okay. All right. Thank you, Steve. We have a motion that's moved by Bill Everett, seconded by Duncan McGregor, that council received the presentation from Steve McCullough regarding additional severances for information. All those, oh, Philip, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can we ask that Mr. McCullough provide a copy of his petition?
Yes. Okay. Dan?
I just wanted to ask Mr. McCullough if he had much success on signatures for petitions for severances.
Jody, can you or Steve answer how many names you've got on your petition? Okay. The hay has to come first. The hay has to come first. It doesn't wait.
Oh, I tried Arden, going there and Sharp Lake and Parham area, Mountain Grove, just stop in and that's what I got for signatures. So,
Okay. So in a short time, you've got 100.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Good. Okay. So all those in favor of the motion? Carried. And next we have Greg Butler from Cardinal Cafe who wants to talk about parking on Road 38. Come on up, Steve. The green light's already on, so it's ready for you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. So I'd like to say good evening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I'm here respectfully to request your support regarding the placement of the bollards in front of the Cardinal Cafe. Specifically, I'm asking that we align with Regulation 604 under the Highway Traffic Act, RRO 1990, that is set out by the Ministry of Transportation. In the case of the cafe, adhering to this regulation would maintain that clearance of 9 meters from the corner would be considered an appropriate and safe deemed distance. While there has never been an accident recorded at this location, I fully understand and appreciate the importance and proactivity of ensuring public safety. This is why I'm requesting that we follow the regulation as written. When the bollards were originally installed 2 years ago, they were placed according to this standard. At that time, a practical test was conducted on site with myself and the Public Works manager using a full-sized pickup truck parked just behind the 9-meter mark. It was deemed that visibility remained adequate and safe. This setup also preserved the 3 critical parking spaces for the cafe and its visitors. Unfortunately, over the last 2 years, I have seen a gradual reduction of the available parking in front of the cafe without clear explanation. This loss not only impacts my small business and the staff I employ, but also the experience of visitors to our town. As you know, Sharp Lake is often passed through quickly by travelers unaware of everything our village has to offer. The cafe frequently serves as a first point of contact for those visitors. Through their brief stop, our staff are often able to introduce them to a wider community, our local businesses, including our bank, pharmacy, grocery store, and of course, our incredible public beach. Given that we have limited parking infrastructure, preserving as many functional spaces as possible is essential as we grow. Therefore, I am proposing a compromise. Reduce the number of blocked parking spaces to 2 from the potential current 5 and replace the 2 closest to the corner with the decorative planters and a bicycle rack, both which can be provided by the cafe, which would house the solution and not only meet safety regulations, but would also support active transportation and encourage more visitors from the KP Trail to stop and enjoy our village and contribute to our local economy. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to working together towards a solution that balances safety, accessibility, and economic development for our community.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for coming and making your presentation. My question is, can we alter this motion instead of accepting it from information to make it that we ask our Public Works Manager to work with Mr. Butler to come up with a good compromise?
I think we can just ask Steve to do that without it even being in the motion.
Okay.
Okay. Any other? I think the bicycle rack's a great idea. The difficulty, Greg, that I have seen is when the big trucks park there, you literally come out and a small car and short people, and there are some short people in this world, you can't see, especially cars going south. It's very, very tricky getting out there. Okay. So Steve and you can work together and see what you can come up with. And I think Steve will bring it back to council if he needs to. If he can just fix it so that it works for both parties, so be it.
That sounds
Okay.
great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the motion is moved by Bill and seconded by Duncan that council receive the presentation from, no, sorry, Nikki and Susan, that council received the presentation from Greg Butler regarding parking on Road 38 for information. All those in favor? Carried. All right. There's no public meeting. Consent agenda. Motion moved by Duncan McGregor and seconded by Nikki Gowdy that council receive items A through C for information as they're considered routine items. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Deferred items. This is the severance motion. So this is moved by Nikki Gowdy and seconded by Philip Smith. It was presented by Councillor Dan Meeks. Whereas there is ongoing interest among landowners in Central Frontenac Township in pursuing additional severances beyond what is currently permitted under the official plan, and whereas the current policies limiting severances restrict opportunities for rural development and land use flexibility, and whereas the limited number of lots currently available for development contributes to increasing land prices, making the existing lots unaffordable for many and rendering new development financially unfeasible. And whereas allowing additional severances could support the creation of more housing options, which aligns with the current housing priorities of both the Ontario provincial government and the federal government of Canada, who have emphasized the need to increase the housing supplies across all regions. And whereas an official plan amendment would be required to consider changes to the township severance policy, and such an amendment should be supported by appropriate planning analysis. And whereas the severance policy and the current official plans do not include a timed-based predictable mechanism for limited development while preserving the rural character and intent of the official plan. Be it resolved that council directs staff to prepare and issue a request for proposal seeking proposals from qualified planning consultants to assess and justify a potential amendment to the township's official plan to increase the number of permitted lot severances in all zones. Be it further resolved that the RFP include a request for detailed cost estimates and deliverables as part of the proposal for council's consideration prior to any decision to proceed with awarding a contract. Please don't ask it to be read a second time. Discussion. Who wants to start? Dan.
I brought this forward not only for myself, but for some of the residents that came to me after the April 8th meeting. At the April 8th meeting, it was not high on the priority list severances. It was suggested that we could hire our own planners to increase severances, both north and south. Like Mr. McCall said, they have more severances than Central Frontenac. But it's not just the vacant land that needs to be addressed. It's residents with numerous acres who would like to sever property for their children and their grandchildren, just like Mr. McCall said. These locations are already serviced by our roads department, and anyway, so why not add them to our tax base, the new services? In the past, there was time-based reset. This meant that after 10 years of ownership, the property that they own could be additional severances. Where I live in about 3 square kilometers, there's at least 15 properties that would not have been developed with no reset. Mine is one, my daughter's, and the fire hall in Farnham is just to name a few. This revenue for the township would have been lost without the reset. Whether it be 10, 15, 20 severances, it's all revenue for the township. So I think it would justify to hire our own planner.
Susan?
Thank you, Dan, for your well thought out motion, and to Mr. McCullough for his presentation. Not opposed to looking at additional severances, but I'm not sure why we need to hire our own planner when the county is already undertaken looking at amending our zoning bylaw to allow for additional severances. So that was part of the presentation that Joe Gallivan made to council. And so I don't want to pay the county with taxpayer dollars and pay another consultant.
Maybe we could ask Abby what work has been done, because the staff are going to do some work to get information for the planners. Abby?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know that in speaking with Sonia and county planning staff that they have made some good headway, are expecting sort of the next step that you asked for with additional information by end of summer, early fall kind of expectation for time. So we have been continuing to work on it as council requested. So if you hire another planner, they will essentially have to start from where we did at the beginning and go through the same process. So there will be some duplication of work.
Dan?
At that April 8th meeting, it was under my impression that our planners were not too, what's the word I'm looking for? They would rather work on something else than actually severances. We had a letter to the township 2 years ago about more severances for the township, and it hasn't been addressed since then. So that's why I brought this forward, to have our planners have a look at the results that the consultant had.
Kathy?
I have some questions in regards to with the resolution, and it's more from clarification. So if you're looking for us to do an RFP or whatever for consulting, excuse me, what the objectives are, like you have to say, we have to lay out what the objectives are, study area, etc. Because the proposal they submit will not just be cost estimates, but very detailed in terms of proposed work, the team of staff, and to complete the work, etc. Because hiring of another planner, they're going to want a little bit more detail. And I'm not sure that staff, unless you give us some direction as to what you are looking for within that study. Abby's correct. The county has been going forward with the study, even though maybe they may not agree, but they certainly have started to do that. Also, hiring a consultant other to assess and justify, just so that council is aware, if we still go ahead and we get another planner to do it, is the fact that it may come up with the same solution as the county, just so that council will be to understand, because the OPA would still have to go to county to be approved.
Right.
So if this planner may say, yes, they justify it, county could turn around and say no. I'm just putting that out there. These are some thoughts. Also too, we're looking at, it could be I don't know if it'd be $30,000, $40,000 in regards to allocate for a consultant, and there's no money in the budget at this year to accommodate that. So you need to consider that as well as part of this. So those are just some questions that I have in regards to how moving forward, trying to do the RFP and those kinds of items. So, okay.
Okay.
Abby?
I just wanted to comment on what Dan had mentioned earlier. The last meeting that additional severances were discussed at, I believe it was Duncan that said it. He and council agreed on the motion was to, our direction was to continue working on additional severances. So that's what we have been doing. And certainly I don't think planning staff are opposed to having additional severances, but it has to be justified. And at that meeting where it was discussed, the limited research that we had done indicated that there might not be a need or a justification for that. However, that opinion may change with the additional research that has been done. I don't have that answer, but that's just sort of some background there.
And I do believe they did give us a price to do it, did they not, the county folks? I know she talked about hours and how much it would cost. Duncan?
Yeah, that's you, Madam Mayor. So that's part of my concern. So I think at that meeting in April 8th, when we'd said, let's keep working on this, I'd asked for a deadline of when we could move on to the next phase. And I don't know the exact date. I don't have the YouTube in front of me, but I believe it was June or July of 2025. Well, we're past June and in July, and we still have nothing back from the county. And so I think the speed at which this is happening is not effective for what we're trying to accomplish here.
Okay, Dan?
One of the things that our planners talked about was vacant land, and it's not necessarily vacant land that we're looking for severances for. It's people that are already are established with dwellings, and the plow is going right by the doorstep anyway. So why not give them a severance? And it's not just the vacant land; it's people that already have the acreage set up to sever.
Philip?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think that was part of the concern I had, that county staff don't have the same appetite that potentially councillors do to see 3 severances. And I'm not sure I fully grasped their rationale for the planning rationale that was required for the change, knowing right well that South Frontenac and North Frontenac allow for greater severances than we do, and they're the planning authority for their official plans as well.
It's got something to do with the provincial policy statement. I don't know. I have not.
Hence, it works for their municipalities, but not ours.
Well,
that's what I don't follow.
I don't know why that is the case. Abby?
Another part of the rationale, and again, I'm not a planner, but just from all the discussions that I've been involved in speaking about additional severances, it also has a lot to do with the demand for growth and the rate at which the community is developing and growing. And if we're not seeing that increased growth, typically that is one of the factors that is taken. And I'm not saying it's the entire decision, but it's certainly a part of the decision and the planning justification.
Okay, Nikki? Then back to
Thank you,
you.
Madam Mayor. Back to the cost, if I remember in April, it was, there wasn't going to be significant cost to do all this investigation because a summer student was going to do the work. And I do believe that Councilor McGregor is correct. We were told July or June that they would have some type of report back.
That was for the first part of it, though,
The first
right?
part about the vacant land, correct?
Are the students working on it, Abby?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, they are. And the cost, I believe, that was brought up at that meeting from the county was $13,000, if I'm remembering correctly. Again, I don't have the paperwork in front of me or the meeting, but I believe that's what it was.
Okay, Dan?
It's kind of changing gears. Abby, I just wonder what your thoughts were. We originally had 3 severances with a reset after 10 years, and the lot size was 1.25 acres. It's now increased to 2.5 acres or 2.47. Would it be more efficient if we went back to the 1.25 acres? Not everybody wants 2 dwellings on one property. And it would increase the amount of severances each township or each application might want or have.
I will comment to the best of my ability, but again, I am not a planner, and I was not here when the zoning bylaw and the official plan changed, allowing or taking away the after 10 years, if you've owned the property for 10 years or however that was. I wasn't a part of the township at that point, but just from, in my opinion, the smaller of lots that you allow to be created, the the bigger the challenges that can arise in terms of having enough spacing and area for the lots to be developed. Because you have to have a certain distance between wells and septics and enough area for a dwelling.
Okay, Dan? Oh, sorry, Duncan, you next.
At one of our last committee of adjustments, we approved less than a quarter acre lot, which had everything, in the guidelines. So, I mean, if you can put everything in a quarter acre lot, I think 1.25 is more than efficient for a lot size.
Except that was by exception because of the 2 acre, right? The 2.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, Duncan and then Nikki.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So I agree with Councillor Meeks. I want this to happen and I want an RFP out, but I fully appreciate what our CAO is saying, that it's kind of left with a wide scope. So my suggestion on how to handle this is the exact same way you handled the organizational review. You used Councillor Smith at that time to work with you to come up with the RFP. It was presented to council and then sent out. So I suggest that if we go ahead with this, you use Councillor Meeks or maybe one other councillor or the mayor to develop what the RFP looks like, bring it back to the August 8th meeting for approval, so we know exactly what we're asking of our consultant.
Okay, Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with what Councillor McGregor is saying and what Councillor Meeks is saying. Is there any way we could request that the county staff come to the August 8th meeting with an update? And then maybe some of that work that is done could be, if we decide to go the route of hiring our own planner, that work can go along with it to save on costs.
And certainly they can do that. We can certainly request them to be here for that. So that way council will have a note and then maybe gives us an opportunity to, and I can certainly do some looking into with some other planners as to an RFP.
Okay, Abby?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to council. I also just want to highlight the fact that a request for proposal for something of this nature is not similar in the way it is for buying a fire truck or another type of service that we may be procuring. It's quite involved, and it will be very challenging and time intensive for staff to be able to prepare that RFP. So that is another consideration for council. There's a lot of technical knowledge that goes into knowing what you're asking for to get the correct information back.
I can do that. Absolutely, but I certainly can work with that. I said I know a number of planners that I may be able to consult with as well. So if that's the route council wish to go, by all means. I now remember Councillor Meeks, yes, we used to have it that way, that you could trigger another. So I'm not sure. I'd have to look back in on that to see why you didn't allow, we had the 2, and if after 10 years, if you owned the property for, more than 10 years, you were allowed the additional severance, and you're correct in that. But I just can't remember all the details. I'd have to go back and look to see
When that changed or why
when that changed and why it changed. Yes, absolutely.
Susan?
Would it be possible to possibly defer a decision on the request for proposal? Then you could continue to, identify the scope of the proposal until we have the report from the county on phase 1. And it may be that they would be willing to expand the work that they're doing and make those changes. I just put that out as an option.
It also might give Kathy and Abigail time to figure out how much time they're going to have to expend or whether or not they're going to have to pay another planner to put together an RFP. Dan?
Yeah, it changed in 2008 was the last time, up to 10 years. Then it was 2018. Would it be possible for Andy to give his input at all, or?
And Andy, do you want to give input?
But the time-based reset also worked fine for, like, if your kids, after 10 years, their kids were old enough to get a severance and so on and so on. It's worked
Yeah,
out.
I don't know why it changed. Andy?
No, I have to see.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it changed then either. But I know, from talking with people that are building and that there is demand for it. People that have done severances are familiar with the process and usually want to do more, but they're limited. Other people that aren't familiar with the process, it can be challenging to, there may be lots of vacant land out there, but it's not for sale type thing. But
Okay, we have a suggestion to defer this, get a report in the August meeting, and then bring it back at that point. Are we good with that? So Susan is moving deferral. We have a seconder. Bill, all those in favor of deferral until the August meeting? 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't vote. All those 4 again?
Or
One.
the deferral.
2, 3, 4 for the deferral.
2. Yeah, 4 of you.
Okay, so 4. So there should be 5 the other way. Okay, so it is not
Lots.
deferred.
No.
So now what happens? We have to move it.
You have to, this would be
carry.
the original, you would have to either carry it or defeat it.
So,
Not deferral.
okay, so all those in favor of moving forward with the RFP? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? Carried. So start your RFP work on top of everything else. All right, staff report. We are going to talk about construction details. Andy, stay right there. I thought you were leaving.
It's got this.
All right, we have a motion moved by Phil Smith, seconded by Dan Meeks. The council received the June construction details report as presented by the chief building official for information. Any questions or comments for Andy? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Andy, I found in your report great, and I liked the comment on the last paragraph under discussion that of the 11 sewage system permits issued in June, 8 were for replacements and they were voluntary. So that shows a great stance by our residents that they want to keep everything working well and going forward.
thank you, Councillor Gowdy. Yeah, I was surprised that that there was that many replacements in 1 month, but I also added the number of enforcement files that we have open. That hasn't been on previous reports, but yeah, the enforcement files take a lot more work than your average building permit file.
That's part of our next discussion. Okay. Susan?
Thank you. I just had a question on your numbers and maybe
Susan, speak right into that.
sorry, my misunderstanding of the table. So I was looking at, just a minute. New seasonal units in June were 3, and new seasonal units year to date were 2. So I'm not quite sure how of the math there.
I'm not quite sure either. Crystal was away the day that I was
Gotcha.
she prepared the report and then I made some adjustments to it, so I might have moved the numbers to the wrong column.
That's fine. So I do like, having the commentary. I think that's a great change. My other question, if I may, is from the 2024 septic reinspection report, there were 31 properties that required either major repairs or replacements. And I seem to recall that Crystal had said she had looked after those. Or are they part of the septic files, enforcement files that remain open?
All of the class 4 systems were taken care of. There may still have been gray water pits and outhouses
Right.
that needed to be replaced or moved or
Okay.
something that nature, but.
Thank you for that. That helps me.
Duncan.
So in the report, you've added the open enforcement files, which is kind of nice to see. So when you see something like sewage system files, what does an enforcement file refer to? Does that mean as in they were found deficient and they're working to resolve it, or they were found deficient and they're not working to resolve it?
They would be ones that are deficient. They may have a permit to correct it, but it's not completed yet.
I see. Okay,
But,
so they could be working towards compliance with you, but they're still kind of technically in an enforcement stage.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, all right. All those in favor of the report? Carried. Okay, now we're going to move 12D,
No, 13.
13A.
Still in B. Sorry, you got to do.
Sorry, okay. I thought we were gonna, okay, sorry. Okay, moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that council received the capital projects report as presented by the chief building official for information. Any discussion on that? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Andy, we're halfway through the year. Do you foresee that all these projects are going to get done by the end of the year? And is there anything that council can do to help with that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Gowdy. It's going to be challenging. There's always issues that come up, like the washroom being over budget, which I was hoping to award that contract tonight, but we have a discussion with the committee tomorrow to see how we can reduce the cost of that building. I've got another report coming up where I have a price from through Canoe. That would save me a lot of time if council was okay with using Canoe for construction projects. But I don't know if we want to get into that discussion right now or the next report or, but
It's coming up, it's coming up. Okay, so nothing else on the capital projects. All those in favor? Carried. All right, now we're moving. C. No, C? I thought it was D. Okay, so we're just going right along here. All right. So moved by Duncan McGregor, seconded by Dan Meeks. Whereas council approved the recommendation of the Housing Committee for staff to call for a request for proposal for the demolition of the Hinchinbrook Public School. And whereas staff used a simpler, more efficient, competitive method of procurement through Canoe to obtain competitive pricing that complies with the broader public sector procurement directive and the municipality's procurement policy. Now, therefore, it be it resolved that council approve the recommendation of the chief building official and award the demolition of the Hinchinbrook Public School to Belcon Design Builders Limited in the amount of $146,887.88, and that council directs the chief building official to issue the purchase order for the work. And further, that the mayor and CAO clerk be authorized to sign the final contract. Discussion. Philip.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I'd like to thank you for getting those numbers. We've been asking for them for a while, so I appreciate you being able to get them to us and see what those numbers are. That was kind of the request from the Housing Committee to understand what those costs were. Since then, we've had an open house or public meeting with the community about that site, and there was a lot of discussion around the school. One of the questions I had for you, Andy, was how long is that quote good for? And two, would we be able to defer this until a future meeting if time permitted? Because the District 4 Recreation Committee is trying to gather some of those people that had a lot of input at the open house to see if they still have interest in doing anything at that site, which could or could not involve the building, as well as potentially councillors taking a look at the building themselves to understand the state of repair that it's in.
And there's a whole thing of money on both accounts, money
Yep.
that we didn't budget to take it down, money that we'd have in budget to fix it up. So Okay,
So-
Duncan.
So
Oh,
part one though is how long is the quote good for?
Is there,
Oh.
is there a 60-day or something on it?
I didn't see anything in the quote with a time limit, but I'm sure if, I'm guessing maybe to the end of the year, prices probably will go up
You can
after
check that though.
But I would have to check with them to see. A lot of times they have a note, it's only valid for 30 days and it's been well beyond that since I received it.
Right.
So then I would like to suggest we defer it until a September meeting.
Okay. Duncan.
Through you, Madam Mayor. First of all, not that it matters in this case. I don't really like using canoe for construction projects, but that's not my point here tonight. My point would be that we don't have an overall plan for that site. So before we spend any money, I suggest any group, including the District 4 Rec Committee or any other committee of council or staff, to come forward with a plan on what we're doing with that site before we spend another cent there. So I agree with Councillor Smith and I'd second his deferral.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, it was briefly discussed at the June meeting by District 4. It is on our agenda for next Wednesday night. We are reaching out to the people that attended the public open house to come to that meeting to talk about what they want to see as community space and what they're willing to put into, what their buy-in is to put into the plan and developing that community space. So the deferral is great because then it would give us a couple of meetings to get a plan together to bring to council.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I would like to see the state of repair of that building too as well. Yeah.
And that's for a September meeting you mentioned? Second?
Yes, and can we schedule a time to do a walkthrough?
Andy, can you take them on a walkthrough?
Yep, any time.
Just let Andy know. then.
It'd be best if we could do it all at the same time. I can send out a poll or something. Yeah. Okay.
It's a training session.
You can only have 4.
At a training session?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Could you ask how many people would be interested in going on the tour? And then if Andy has to have 2 dates to go, it would be much easier for him, please, and thank you.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. How long is the walkthrough going to take? 20 minutes?
Yeah, if that.
Run them back to back on the same day.
Yeah.
You can 4.
Maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody uses your time meeting once.
See, I didn't talk for so long. It was off. All right.
Do you want 13A first? About the septic reinspection
I have no
committee minutes?
idea.
That one first, yeah. This 13A, that's the one we moved up, 13A, to talk about the septic reinspection committee minutes.
Okay, so we're doing a committee report here first. Right? 13A. All right, 13A.
13A.
Moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Duncan McGregor. The council received for information the minutes of the Central Frontenac Septic Reinspection Committee meeting held on June the 18th, 2025. And further, the council endorsed the committee's recommendation to continue the mandatory septic reinspection program in 2025. and that the Mississippi Rideau Septic System Office be retained to complete 100 inspections on Kennebec Lake in 2025, and that council authorize the mayor and CAO to execute an agreement with the Mississippi Rideau Septic System Office for delivery of the 2025 septic reinspection program. Discussion. Susan.
So you will note, and the reason we wanted the minutes and the staff report on the septic reinspection committee considered together is that there is a resolution that the Central Frontenac Septic Reinspection Committee recommends continuance of the mandatory septic reinspection program and the 100 inspections on Kennebec Lake. At that meeting, our chief building official did mention in fair detail the challenges that he was facing, particularly with enforcement because of lack of staffing resources, which is not surprising that he has now come forward with a report, which is at 12D, that recommends, or there's a resolution that we suspend the mandatory septic reinspection committee to address some of those challenges. What I can say is that there was one member of the committee that wasn't present, and might have sparked discussion amongst members of the committee online. And I'm thinking that it would be helpful if we could defer both, because it would have been really helpful to the committee to have had your report, Andy, because it really puts into context the challenges that you were facing, that we would defer this and that the septic reinspection committee would meet to discuss your report and see what measures we could take to get our house in order and get us on the same page. There's, there are reasons why we want mandatory septic reinspection, but we have to, I've always wanted to work with staff to see that we can accomplish the objectives. So my first move is to suggest deferral. I have a backup plan if that doesn't work, but let's try the deferral first.
Because in fact, we have controversial motions, one saying yes,
Exactly.
and one saying no.
Yeah.
So if we defer one, we can defer the second one, and the committee and Andy can talk about this and bring forward hopefully something that you can agree upon for down the road. So you have a seconder for the deferral? Bill? Okay, so all those in favor of deferring this resolution?
13.
Yes, Duncan?
Sorry, are there any ongoing costs with the septic reinspection program? So if we defer for another month or 2 months, are we going to incur costs during that time?
I'm not sure what we have contract wise with Mississippi Rideau Septic System Office, but if we defer, it's already getting late in the year to book the inspections. I'm not sure, if we defer this too long.
That's why they were only doing 100, right? Because it's late.
Correct.
And then the follow-up question to that is, it seems like the biggest issue here is enforcement. So if we defer this motion and we are not continuing to do septic re-inspections, could we spend that time on enforcement, which seems to be the real issue here?
His motion is that he doesn't have time to doing this, period. He needs help. He needs help in his department if he's going to take on more.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor McGregor, the biggest issue is tracking who's been done, who's not done, who's in compliance, who isn't, who we have to follow up with. It's and the longer that list gets without it being up to date is we're digging ourselves a deeper hole to try and climb out of.
Stuff.
Okay. Susan?
So my proposal would be that if we defer it, we would have a special meeting with the building department, hopefully with Kathy present as well and Jody or whoever. And we would bring this back for the August 12th meeting. So, and my understanding from Eric from the Mississippi Rideau Septic Services Inspection Office is that so long as he has the properties identified in August, he wasn't going to have time to even start the re-inspections until September. So we still have time. So hence my request for the deferral.
Okay. Okay, reasonable. Philip?
I can talk about it now or the next motion, but I guess my concern over both of these motions is we're going through an org review and a service delivery review, which should be talking about this exact thing, whether we have enough staff to deal with it, whether we should be doing the program or not. Those are all discussions we should be having as part of that review as well. So the deferral is fine. I'm just saying there's a bigger discussion than just saying how do we do the inspections or how do we staff it?
Is this one of the issues that they will be looking at?
Well, they're going to be looking at certainly at staff and with all the comments from certainly with council and staff as well. So they will be coming back in August. They're coming back in August.
Yes, we asked them to talk about the services we provide,
Yeah.
mandatory and discretionary and staffing. So
But since we contract that out, I just wonder if that's on their radar, but it must be.
that was one
Yes.
of the comments I
Yeah.
made.
Okay,
I think
okay,
it's there.
okay.
Okay.
All right, so the deferral on this first motion, all those in favor? Okay, so it's deferred.
13A.
Now, the next motion, get my glasses on here. All right, so this is moved by Bill Everett, second by Susan Irwin. The council received the report for information. And whereas the Township of Central Frontenac initiated a septic reinspection program to promote environmental protection and public health. And whereas the program has a number of operational challenges and unresolved issues. Now therefore be it resolved that the septic reinspection program be suspended until a formal review of the program is completed and the operational issues are addressed. And I need it, who's going to defer that one? Duncan? Okay, so Duncan and Susan? So all those in, Duncan, go ahead.
Sorry, and this doesn't have to go in the motion. This is just a request. But in the report, it's identified the problems with the program. It'd be nice to see in the next report what it would cost or what we need to do to fix those problems.
For sure, we will do that. I work with Andy on that.
Okay, all right. All those in favor of the deferral? Okay, and this will come back with the other one in September. August, sorry. Sorry, it's been a long night. I think we're out of August already. Okay, so I think we're caught up on skipping around. Not sure where I am now, but Public Works,
Yes.
is that where I am?
Your public works activity. There.
Thank you, Andy.
Number E.
All right, now we're back on the straight and narrow here. Okay, we have a motion moved by Lynn Clegg, a second by Duncan McGregor, that council received the Public Works Activity Report for June 2025 as presented by the Public Works Manager for information. Discussion. Anything you want to say to us, Steve?
The calcium's coming to an end. We're getting caught up on it, and we'll have some flake to do on some back roads. The grass cutting's ongoing. We had one breakdown there, a window broke, but we have three mowers out going right now. So we have some guys working on Fridays to help get caught up on that. So the CRF part of the pavement preservation will be starting tomorrow. So imagine 4 or 5 days that will be done. So they're working on Westport Road tomorrow.
I have a question on the Westport Road, actually. Somebody keeps asking me, we're at 60 kilometers when we were doing construction. Are we going to remove those signs and put it back to 80 during that, where that spot is?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yeah, we'll be changing them to
Okay.
80. Yep.
There's also one on the Ardoc Road's the same. It just in the middle of nowhere, it's 60 kilometers because I think there was some construction happening there.
That it got changed when we were we lowered the speed limit on them roads,
Oh,
but
okay.
since our new speed bylaw, it's back to 80, I think. Yep.
Okay, all right. There, I asked that a number of times and never asked the question. All right, all those in favor of the motion? Carried. And we have moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that council review the project status report as receive the project status report as presented by the Public Works Manager for information. Questions, comments on that? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Andy. We're halfway through the year. You still have a lot of projects. Do you anticipate them all being done?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'm fairly confident. Yeah. Unofficial numbers, I was told that the bridge at Sharper Lake was just under budget, but I'll have better numbers next meeting. So
Good. Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Oh, where am I?
Okay, so got that one done. Now you're
G.
on G.
Okay. Moved by Bill Smith, seconded by Bill Everett. The council received the Central Frontenac Fire Rescue Activity Report prepared by the Manager of Emergency Services, Fire Chief, dated July the 8th, 2025.
And Chris is online.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's kind of more of a comment than a question. There's a significant drop in the number of calls from last year to this year. So I would just like to give congratulations to the fire department, the team, the whole work together. Obviously, education is working and our department's doing great work.
Yep. Okay. All
Just
those
a
in
que-
favor of the motion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, go ahead, Chris.
just a question for the trip to the States. I want to clarify with council just the process, I guess, of going down there to look at this vehicle, if it's suitable. What are the next steps going forward for me? Do we just make an offer for the truck, or because our next meeting's not till August, so I would probably need to make a deposit on that vehicle, and it's a non-refundable deposit. So I just want to make council aware of this.
We can call a special meeting if we need to,
Okay.
but Kathy, can you answer that question?
Well, I think that if council is agreeable to that, for him to get a deposit, we certainly will work with Michael. Michael's away the next couple of days, but then he'll be back. So that way, at least we know council is approving that, and then we can go from there, what the deposit is. And Chris will be able to tell us when he's there.
So I'll provide an email to council, I guess, when I return.
Actually, it
You can
might
just send it to me.
It might be even faster if you feel that it's exactly what we want. Call Kathy and we'll get the wheels in place to do what we need to do to make it happen.
All right. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. All right. Bylaw enforcement, moved by Cindy Kelsey, seconded by Nikki Gowdy. The council received the July 8th, 2025 bylaw enforcement and education activity report as prepared by the bylaw enforcement officer for information. Hello, Nicole. Congratulations on your work today. Good
Thank you.
stuff. Questions or comments? Anything you'd like to point out for us?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor? Carried. All right. Thank you. Okay, this is moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Duncan McGregor. Whereas the subject lands are currently zoned with a holding H symbol under zoning bylaw number 2011-52 of the Township of Central Frontenac as amended, and whereas the conditions required for the removal of the holding symbol have been addressed to the satisfaction of the township, and whereas section 36(4) of the Planning Act authorizes council to remove the holding symbol by bylaw once the prescribed conditions have been met. There's got to be more. No?
Yep. Yours go.
I'm sorry, but just,
You've got yours all mixed up. Yes. Here, read mine.
okay. I just don't have a page to continue. Okay. And whereas public notice and public meeting meetings are not required under the Planning Act for the removal of a holding symbol. Now therefore be it resolved that council approves application APP 9 2025-0025 for the removal of the holding symbol as presented, and that a bylaw to remove the holding symbol be presented to council for all three readings later in this meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. I don't know where my page went. What's next?
Then you'll be on,
Committee reports.
now you'll be on 14. Yeah,
There's,
Open Farms is the first one.
I think I'm missing a page. All right. Open Farms. Communications, moved by Duncan McGregor, seconded by Philip Smith. Whereas the Township of Central Frontenac recognizes the importance of agriculture in the region, and whereas the Township believes a strong agricultural economy is essential for enduring communities for the health of our residents and to establish a strong community in support of food security for our citizens as well as our businesses and organizations. And whereas the township has a vision of a strong agriculture community that's rooted in the character of Frontenac and its residents, welcoming natural, healthy, clean, tranquil, entrepreneurial, rule by choice and conviction. And whereas the township is committed to supporting agriculture to grow businesses, attract more visitors, and expand the tax base. Now therefore be it resolved that Council of the Corporation of the Township of Central Frontenac hereby declares September 5, 6, and 7, 2025 as open farms in the township and reminds individuals of the importance of this celebration which supports local agriculture and food businesses in our community. And that the Township of Central Frontenac encourages all residents to support local farms and food businesses by participating. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. All right, we are at bylaws. Okay. Oh, there we go. Moved by Dan Meek, seconded by Bill Everett, that bylaw 2025-31, being a bylaw to amend Schedule A2 of zoning bylaw 2011-52, as amended, as it relates to the removal of the holding symbol for 1074 Teal Trail, Garrison Shores, Township of Central Frontenac, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 8th day of July, 2025. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Any notice of motions?
No, there are not, Madam Mayor.
Any giving of notice of motion?
No, there are not.
Any new or other business?
No, there's not.
Okay, we have a closed session moved by Bill Everett, seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that council resolve into closed session pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act to discuss. And do you have extras here?
Yes, let me just.
239(2)B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal and local board members.
Right, and then we have the other litigation, I'm just going to get those to you. These are the numbers, Madam Mayor, right here. So you've got 2 under that one, and then here's under litigation, the sections, and this one.
Okay, so I did that one. Litigation or potential litigation, including matters before an administrative tribunal affecting the municipality or local board, section 239(2) E, and this one, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, section 239(2) C. All those in favor?